Hello, daily viewers of 100% Ginger. Today we're going to discuss one of my all-time favorite comic books ever written. Kick motherfucking ass. So let me talk about some of the comics I've read prior to this, because I've read comic books like Batman Killing Joke, The Boys, and they all just pale in comparison compared to this book. I still think this is my favorite comic book ever made. In regards of all the books I've read, or not all the books, but all the comic books I've read. And yeah, I'm about to just really fixate on this book. I'm really gonna fanboy all of it today. But the reason why I'm cussing is because, half the characters' names have a cuss word in it. I'm gonna be very vulgar in this video, so for the faint of heart, get the fuck out. But yeah. So, for starters, before we get into this video, I'm going to discuss one thing, or bring up one thing. I know I've never discussed any other comic books, but if you want me to in the near future, or ahead of this video, let me know if you want to see more upcoming videos in regards of comic books. Yeah, let's get right into it. So, I'm going to discuss my 4 pros and then 1 con, and then I'll rate it. So my 4 pros, well, I'm going to start off with 1. I'm going to try to go into depth with each point, is I love how it managed to pave the way for modern comic books, because in the 2000s, there was a pretty rugged lineup of comic books. Comic books kind of had a dark, they were in the dark ages in the 2000s, because they were attempting to make them more modern, the art look more modern and less, rugged looking from like the 80s. And this book really made the comic book art more polished. And you can see from each pages, simple art, but it just looks more beautiful to look at, more eye candy. And it looks less goofy. And yeah, it looks more genuine. I love the aesthetic of this book. I love the aesthetic. I love just the overall look. Now, I know that point's not me as big as the other 3, but my other 3 points start off with the second one, is that being, I love how genuine the characters feel, as well as how violent this book is, but yet how genuine it feels. Because most comic books I've read, like The Boys and Crossed, it comes off as just nonsensical violence, very glamorized. It felt as if a 12-year-old who is at the pinnacle of their edgy life wrote the book. Because those books, they just feel like a teenager wrote them. Like, how am I going to make something as glamorized and evil as possible? And those books just feel nonsensically evil to the point you can't relate and resonate with it. But this book, it takes all that shit and it actually makes it feel authentic. Within the pages of this book, it's littered with violence, by the way. Don't get that wrong. There's lots of violence, there's lots of gore, and there's lots of vulgar language, as well as scenes that are very unsettling and just jaw-dropping. But it manages to do all that in a genuine way, especially with the character development. All of these characters come off as genuine, and the violence that they portray and depict and they inflict on others, they really feel genuine. Like, if a kid actually put on on an outfit, a cape, and spandex, there would be lots of violence. Not like these stereotypical Avenger movies where they're not flawed and they don't actually take in a lot of damage. A lot of those movies have plot armor. This book does not have plot armor, especially the 4th book. That book, even though I don't like it that much, half the characters, sorry for the spoiler, I'm not going to say who dies, but half those characters just get whacked. Half those characters get gunned down, bum rushed, and just slaughtered. They also managed to do that in a genuine way. The character arcs feel long, they feel genuine, they feel like they don't overstay their welcome at the same time. They feel as if they're real human beings, and they don't feel cartoonish, even though this is a comic book. And yeah, my other pro I could think of is how it also feels modern to the time it was in. There's so many references that I love in this book. Like, they talk about MySpace, they talk about and discuss politics, modern politics. I think there's like a Bill Clinton joke somewhere later in this, which is kind of funny. And you can really tell this was made in the 2000s, which this book does a great job of depicting what time it is, an era, and it does it in an outstanding way with the amount of humor in this. Even though this book's very violent and gory and just downright malicious at times, it still has its humor and its quirkiness. And yeah. And I also just, one other thing I want to make a remark on is I love the names like Kick-Ass, the Motherfucker, Night Bitch. Like, these names are just, they're very funny and just humorous. They're very amusing to the fact, like, if I 100% Junior were to make up an, or actual superhero name, I'd probably just go online, go into the gin of names and just pick a very dumb name. And a lot of these names feel as if they gave it 1 second. It really just comes off as goofy. This book's goofy at times, but yet serious, and it does it in an outstanding way without feeling nonsensical like a lot of other peers and a lot of other contemporary art that was made in 2000, especially like Ross and the Boys. Those are examples of what not to do in the comic book area and industry. But yeah, I would give this book a 9 out of 10 gingers. I'd give this 9 gingers. And the reason why it's not all-time 10 out of 10, 100% rotten ginger is due to the fact that the fourth novel, the finale, does not live up well. In the finale in this book, by the way that, I'm not going to spoil that, but the way the finale and the climax occurs in this book is just outstanding. I love the finale. I love the fight that the motherfucker opposes on Kick-Ass. I mean, that fight is glorious. I mean, I understand why the second movie did not depict that fight due to how much money that would require. I mean, that scene would be expensive, but yeah, I hate the second movie, by the way, but we're not going to talk about the movies at all. But yeah, I'd only give this a 9 out of 10 gingers. It's not a 100% out of 100, mainly due to the fact the fourth book does not live up to the hype of the potential cool, finale. The fourth book, it does not go out in a bang. It does not blow it out of the park. It really doesn't. I mean, most comic books pale in comparison to the first three, but the fourth book, it feels very stereotypical. It feels like the guy who wrote The Boys wrote that. Which, I mean, I'm not trying to insult the writers. I love the writers, but I love Mark Miller, but yeah, the fourth book did not come off genuine. I could tell it was a cash grab, to be honest, quite frank. But yeah, I still love this book. All the 2 previous books are still like 9 or 8 out of 10. The first one, I think, is a contender for the best book out of the series, but still, I think this is the best one. This takes the cake. And yeah, I'm going to try to keep this short, like my previous videos I've been trying to do. But my next idea is going to be a lot bigger. These are just appetizers, like my vinyl video and all that. They're appetizers for what's coming ahead. My next video is going to be like a 50-minute something documentary or analysis video on anything, really, that has to do with entertainment. That could be any of the movies I talked about in my previous video, or even just a comic book even. On the behind the scenes, if you will. But yeah, cannot say enough about this book. Highly recommend it. If you don't have enough time to read this, or you don't want to buy it, at least watch the first movie of Kick-Ass. I think Aaron Taylor Johnson and Nicolas Cage do a phenomenal performance. And it really feels like a one-of-a-kind. It's never going to be made compared to a lot of other Hollywood movies that involve superheroes. It really feels like it's in its own league. Like, it gives other superhero movies a run for their money. But yeah, it even has fucking McLovin as the motherfucker. So that's also a very humorous and very amusing. But yeah, I think that's enough I'm going to discuss for today. Yeah, I highly recommend this book. It's one of my favorites. And yeah, I think, and also one other thing I'll add before I end this is the next book I'm going to read is The Watchmen. So if you've ever heard that, let me know how it is before I read it if you want. And I really enjoyed the movie depiction of it, the adaptation of that. I think Zack Snyder did a very loyal job. And yeah, that's what I'm going to read next when it comes to comic books. And I hope you have a very fantastic night. I know it's like 2 in the morning for me, but I just want to get this out of the way. I want to make another video for you guys. So, yeah, with that out of the way, have a good night and remain ginger.